Ever wondered how people treat others when they think no one is watching? Larry, a quiet millionaire, had recently purchased a charming but struggling restaurant, Green Oak Diner. Despite his wealth, he wanted to ensure that the diner maintained its welcoming atmosphere, so he decided to conduct an experiment. Disguised as a homeless man, Larry dressed in ragged clothes, smeared dirt on his face, and made his way to the diner. He wanted to see how his new staff would treat someone they thought was in need, without knowing he was their boss. Would they offer kindness, or would they treat him as just another person to ignore? This simple test would soon reveal the true character of those working under his roof. On a chilly Tuesday morning, Larry, disguised as a homeless man, made his way to Green Oak Diner. He had dressed in ragged clothes, purposely smudging his face and hands with dirt to complete the look. With his head down and hands stuffed in his pockets, he shuffled toward the diner, hoping for a warm welcome. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling pancakes greeted him as he pushed open the door, and for a moment, he felt a glimmer of hope. This was the kind of place he imagined people would be treated with kindness and respect, no matter their appearance. But as he stepped inside, little did he know, the treatment he was about to receive would not match the cozy atmosphere. As Larry entered, the warmth of the diner wrapped around him, but the cold reception he received was anything but inviting. Behind the counter stood Janice, a woman with a hard expression, her eyes narrowing as she saw him shuffle in. Without hesitation, she crossed her arms and shot him a look of disdain. "What do you want?" she snapped, her voice harsh and impatient. Larry, staying in character, gave a weak smile and politely asked, "Just a small cup of coffee, if that's all right. I'm a bit down on my luck, and just need something warm." Janice barely glanced at him, her lips curling into a sneer. "We don't give out free handouts here," she muttered, her eyes scanning him from head to toe with judgment. "Either pay up or get out." Her words stung, but Larry kept his calm, refusing to let her cruelty get under his skin. He had expected nothing more than indifference, but this was beyond what he imagined. Still, he asked again, "I can pay you back, just a little short right now, but I promise I'll make it up." Janice rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Promises? Yeah, I've heard that one before. People like you just come around expecting charity." Her voice dripped with contempt as she grabbed a cup, filled it with cold coffee, and slammed it down on the counter. "Here, now get out before I call someone to throw you out." Larry took the cup, his fingers wrapping around the handle, though the cold coffee was far from comforting. He quietly murmured, "Thank you, miss," and took a sip, though it tasted bitter. As he did, he couldn't help but notice the subtle exchange between Janice and another waitress named Lisa. Lisa looked over at Larry, then hesitated, her expression uneasy. Larry knew something was off, and he could tell that Lisa's kindness was real, even if it was just a glimmer. But for now, he said nothing, continuing to observe quietly, as Janice continued her rude behavior, unaware of the man she was truly insulting. Janice's behavior only worsened as the moments passed. As Larry sipped the cold coffee, trying to keep his cool, she shot him another scornful look. "You know, people like you always think they can just hang around and get things for free," she muttered under her breath, loud enough for him to hear. Her words stung, but Larry said nothing, merely keeping his gaze on her. "Honestly, you're just a bum, aren't you?" Janice continued, the slur following her words like a slap. "Just a freeloader looking for charity." Larry kept his expression neutral, refusing to let her see that her cruelty was getting to him. She finally slammed the cup of cold coffee on the counter and hissed, "If you don't leave right now, I'll call the cops on you. See if I don't." The threat was sharp, but Larry remained calm, silently observing the scene unfold. The customers in the diner began to shift uncomfortably in their seats, some whispering among themselves, but no one dared speak up. Then, as if sensing the tension. Lisa, a young waitress, walked by and glanced at Larry with a look of concern. She hesitated for a moment, then quietly spoke to Janice. "Maybe we should offer him a warm drink, just for kindness?" Her voice was gentle, but her suggestion was met with an icy response. "No, Lisa," Janice snapped. "Don't waste your sympathy on him. He's just another person looking for a handout. He doesn't deserve anything from us." Lisa bit her lip, clearly wanting to argue, but instead, she turned away, visibly deflated. Larry noticed the look on her face, her genuine compassion for him contrasting sharply with Janice's cold indifference. As he observed the scene, it became clear who truly cared about others. Lisa, with her soft heart, and who didn't. Janice, who was only interested in keeping up her tough facade. Larry's heart sank a little as he realized how easy it was for people to lose their compassion. But at the same time, he was grateful for the glimmer of kindness that Lisa showed. It reminded him that even in the most difficult times, there are still people who care. As the situation escalated, Janice finally made her move. She marched behind the counter, grabbed the phone, and dialed 911, her finger trembling with anger. Within minutes, 2 officers walked into the diner, their eyes scanning the room. One of them spoke first, his voice calm yet curious. "What's going on here?" Janice quickly pointed to Larry, her finger shaking. "This man's been harassing my customers and refuses to leave. He's causing a disturbance." The officers turned to Larry, who remained calm and collected. He knew this moment was coming, but he had prepared for it. Larry raised his hand slightly, catching the officers' attention. "I understand, officers, but before you take any action, I'd like to explain." Both officers turned their attention to him, raising their eyebrows, clearly intrigued. Larry reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was his ownership document for Green Oak Diner. He handed it to one of the officers, who quickly glanced at it before looking up in surprise. "Mr. Henderson?" one officer asked, clearly recognizing the name. The color drained from Janice's face as she turned white, realizing exactly who she had been treating so poorly. The officer nodded. "Mr. Henderson, it appears you're the new owner here." Larry turned to face Janice, his calm demeanor unwavering. "Yes, I am," he said with a firm voice. "And I came in today to see how my staff treats people, especially those in need." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. "And I must say, I'm deeply disappointed by your actions." Janice opened her mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She stammered, trying to explain herself, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Please, Mr. Henderson, I didn't know. I thought you were just a homeless man. I didn't realize—" Larry held up his hand, silencing her. "That's exactly the point, Janice. You treated someone poorly just because of how they looked, without knowing who they were. And that's not the kind of behavior I will tolerate in my diner." The diners around them were silent, watching the scene unfold. Larry turned to the officers with a small nod, signaling that he didn't need their intervention any longer. With a polite gesture, he turned back to Janice. "I'm afraid you're fired. You've shown me a lack of respect and kindness, and that's not something I can overlook." Janice stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water, unable to respond. The shock of the moment was too much for her to process. She turned and stumbled toward the door, humiliated, as the other employees, including Lisa, watched quietly. The officers tipped their hats and left, leaving Larry standing tall, his decision made. He had wanted to see the true character of his staff, and now the diner would be a place where kindness and respect would always come first. As Janice left, humiliated and defeated, Larry turned to Lisa, who had been watching the whole scene unfold. With a warm smile, he walked over to her and said, "Lisa, I want to thank you for showing kindness today. You're the kind of person I want working here. You showed real compassion, and that's exactly the kind of values I want at Green Oak Diner." Lisa's face lit up, her eyes wide with surprise and gratitude. She hadn't expected such praise, especially after everything that had just happened. Larry gave her an encouraging nod, and she beamed in return, feeling more confident in her role. From that day on, Green Oak Diner became known for more than just its cozy atmosphere and delicious food. It became a place where kindness and respect were the top priorities, where every customer was treated with dignity, no matter who they were or how they looked. And Larry made sure that his staff, led by Lisa's example, would always uphold those values, ensuring that everyone who walked through those doors felt welcomed and cared for. Sometimes the true character of a person shows when they think no one is watching. Larry's story reminds us that kindness and respect should never be conditional. It's in those quiet moments, when no one is looking, that our true nature shines through. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more inspiring stories coming your way. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. How would you have reacted if you were in Larry's shoes? Would you have handled the situation the same way? Drop a comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.